Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone, and at this time, I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, May 17th council presentation ceremony, and I'd like to turn it over to the Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening to each and every one of you. These type of presentations here really makes my heart smile when I'm here recognizing children, particularly this Girl Scout troop, I believe Group 12. Well, these young ladies, they never shy away from humanitarian efforts. And I've worked alongside of this troop as we collected goods for the Haiti Relief Drive. I understand they collected toys for Operation Christmas, as well as Operation Shoebox for our military. So these young girls have a really big heart to serve, and we're so grateful to have them here in the city of Homestead. And when you think of Girl Scouts, you think of Girl Scout cookies as well. And I hear this troop came in second place last year for the Girl Scout cookie sales, but this year they came in first place in the district for selling 23,000 Girl Scout cookies in this community. Oh my goodness, but it gets better because there is one Girl Scout who came in first place for the entire district, selling around 2,500 boxes of Girl Scout cookies by herself, and I'm assuming with the parents as well. Bella De Armas? Bella, where's Bella? Congratulations, Bella, for coming in first place for the Girl Scout cookie sales. And I'm sure a lot of this hard work is contributed to the hard work of their parents as well, who are supporting these young girls and helping them to become leaders in our community. So we in the city of Homestead, we're so grateful for the work that all of you are doing to support these girls. And I understand one of our local businessmen, Mr. Rolando Gasca, and his wife, they are the sponsor for this Girl Scout troop. So thank you so much for participating in the leadership skills building for these young girls. So I am proud to join all of you with the penning ceremony for these young ladies who are top sellers in this community. And I'm sure Councilman Roth, he's in real estate, he probably can use some of your advice with selling houses. So if you meet with Councilman Roth and give him some tips, I'm sure he would appreciate that. But at this time, if our Girl Scouts can please come up, and their parents who will pin them. Come this way. Come all the way down. You want to follow me? They're too cute. I was a Girl Scout, but my uniform wasn't as cute as this. Okay, you want to follow me? Come down this way. And then you face the audience. And stop here. And I didn't sell this many Girl Scout cookies either. Okay, you want to pull them down so that we don't... Wait, hold this for me. Okay. And I understand Bella is also the Girl Scout troop leader? The mom is the troop leader. Outstanding. And the troop started out with 12 girls? 6 girls in the beginning. Now we have 31? 31 and counting. And counting. So if you would like to participate in the Girl Scout program with Troop 12, I'm sure Ms. Gasca or Dayarmis can help to facilitate that. Are we ready for our group shot? Let's squeeze tight. Now with just the girls, just the Girl Scouts. So Girl Scouts stay, and then our parents cut the umbilical cord. Never. Yes. Another round of applause for Girl Scout Troop 12. Congratulations. Congratulations, girls. Here. If Bella and her mother, the troop leader, if you can please come up. On behalf of the City of Homestead, Mayor and Council, I would like to present the Certificate of Appreciation to the Girl Scout Troop 12. Thank you for exemplifying excellence in community service and demonstrating an unwavering commitment to educating promising youth in our community. The City of Homestead salutes you.
Thank you.
Yes, if the other troop leaders can please come up. Other troop leaders? Sorry, we have a big production here. Wait, we have one more. Very good. Thank you so much. I'm sure we have our next female mayor in this group right here. Won't be me.
Our next presentation is by Councilman Roth. Councilman?
Good. Hello? Works? Good, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Beautiful presentation, Vice Mayor. Thank you for that. And we're going to go from the Girl Scouts to the Boy Scouts. Come on up, Boy Scouts. This is Troop 69. And as a former scout, as I went through the ranks and earned my badges, they're here tonight not only to be recognized as a tremendous troop in the city of Homestead, but also to earn a couple of badges tonight. I think they're going for citizenship and communications. And I'm going to turn this over to Jeannie Canavan, and she'll tell you a little bit more about this.
Hello, everyone. Here representing Troop 69. We are 70 years strong in Homestead community. These boys are actively working on merit badges that are requirements to help them earn the Eagle Scout rank, which is the highest rank in scouting. The citizen in the community teaches them to be active citizens in their community. Communications teaches boys to learn how to actively listen to issues that are important in their community. And then we have a scout that is actually earning for rank requirement, which is for the first class rank. And that is why we're here tonight.
Do you want to introduce each one of the boys real quick?
Oh, yes. As I call your name, step forward. Jake Canavan. Matthew Madruga. Jake Nymark. Jason Holland. Let me just introduce you to Jason, who is our senior patrol leader. He is the boy responsible for the leadership of the troop. He leads the boys in running our troop. Ian Baker, Cooper Lehman, Alex Hammernick, Levi Dury, Garrett Thompson, and David Jordan.
Now, as part of, I guess, working their way to earn their badge tonight, they've actually got to sit through the council meeting. Well, good luck to all of you for that. And we would like to give them a certificate of recognition. I think we also have little certificates for each of them. But this certificate of recognition is presented to the Boy Scouts of America Troop number 69 for enhancing our youth's competitive edge, receiving the citizenship in the community and communications badges. So you won't get this till after you sit through the council meeting as completing the task for receiving your badge. But I just want to say I'm very proud of each of you for enduring the Boy Scouts, the parents who support these kids in their endeavors. Same as with all scouting. And everything that these kids do outside of the school, it takes parental guidance, love and nurturing, so that we can grow these young children up to be productive citizens in our city. And for that, I thank you, Jeannie Canavan, for coming to us. I thank the Scouts, and I thank all their parents for everything they do for our kids in our community. There you have it. Thank you, Mayor. Let's give them a big round of applause, guys. Thank you.
Mr. Williams is has our next presentation tonight.
Thank you so much to my colleagues and the mayor and staff and members of the chamber. Is Jessica here? Jessica? Yeah? Come on up. I see you have a captive audience as well. Yeah. Bring your one up. Miss Neely, right? Miss Jessica and I have talked for a couple months ago or so, and she shared with me about her daughter and family members that was going through a disease, neurofibrosis, and I said to her, I said, wow, that's a tremendous impact. And I wanted her to just give us a minute snap of what the disease is before I do the proclamation. Is that okay? Okay.
I love talking about it. I'm a huge advocate. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is actually May 17th. It's World NF Day. Neurofibromatosis type 1 is what my daughter, Gianna, was diagnosed with at 6 months of age. What it is a genetic disorder where in our body, for example, I'm a science teacher, so I'm going to give you a little science. In our body knows how to shut off the cell-making process. Unfortunately, for Gianna, her body does not know how to stop the cell-making process. These cells then continue to form and they turn into tumors. Currently, Gianna, at 6 years old, has 150 tumors in her body. She has had 4 surgeries to remove some of the more concerning tumors. Recently, she's had a surgery to remove a tumor that was wrapped around her carotid artery, and that was pressing on her voice box and causing her voice paralysis, so almost voice loss. It has been an uphill battle, to say the least, regarding neurofibromatosis. However, I pull from her strength, and I thank God that I have her, who's an absolute brave little girl, and people like Councilman Williams, who does recognize the importance of understanding and advocating and educating for these genetic disorders. So it's an honor and privilege to be here with you today, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And you want to introduce these wonderful people that's with you?
This is my Florida City family. I am a children's program director at Touching Miami with Love. We're in Florida City. So these are all of Gianna's supporters. There's a few that could not be here with us today, but they're certainly still with the kids. So there's about 50 of us strong in the Florida City Homestead area that certainly do support neurofibromatosis and finding a cure. Neurofibromatosis happens in 1 in 3,000, and it doesn't discriminate in age, race, gender, sex, anything. So it happens in 1 in 3,000 people.
Amen to that one. Let me thank you so much, Ms. Neely, for your tenacity and for your daughter. Give me your daughter's name again. Gianna. For her tenacity, and I heard that you said that you draw your strength from her, and that is to be commended, and all of her cheerleaders behind her and supporters and persons who support you in this genetic disease. I myself know the importance of awareness and living with such a disease that has no cure at this time. So the proclamation, whereas neurofibromatosis, or NF, is under-recognized genetic disorder that can cause tumors to grow on nerves throughout the body. NF can lead to blindness, bone abnormalities, cancer, deafness, disfiguration, and learning disabilities. And NF occurs in 1 in every 3,000 people and affect millions worldwide, affecting all population regardless of ethnicity or gender. Roughly half of NF causes are diagnosed in families with no history of the disorder, which is interesting. And research is shedding new light in several forms of the NF and NF1 and NF2. And whereas nationwide progress towards ending neurofibromatosis is being made at NF clinics with special trials through funding from the Children's Tumor Foundation. Now, therefore, I, Jeff Porter, the mayor of the city of Homestead, Florida, enthusiastically endorse the Children's Tumor Foundation and hereby proclaim May 2017 as Neurofibromatosis Month. In the witness, wherefore I set to on my hand cause the Great Seal of Homestead to be affixed. Mayor Jeff Porter, Patricia Faircloth, Vice Mayor John Burgess, Councilman Elvis R. Maldonado, Councilman Larry Roth, Councilman Stephen R. Shelley, Councilman Jimmy L. Williams III, Councilman George Gretz, City Manager. Thank you so very much.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
And for our final presentation of the evening, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Sylvie Barreto to all of you here. She is definitely no stranger to the city of Homestead. She has given back to this community in so many capacities, and most recently with 3 Palms at East Ridge, they hosted a brunch at our community center to celebrate Mother's Day. And I'm a firm believer in government can't do everything. We rely on businesses and nonprofit organizations and the Girl Scouts to help us, and the Boy Scouts, to fill in the gaps here in our community to enhance the quality of life by hosting these community engagement activities. And Sylvie always does it in grand style. And I think the mayor and his wife attended the brunch, as well as Councilman Roth. So on behalf of all of us here in the city of Homestead, we thank you so much for all that you do in leveraging resources to provide these type of experiences to our residents. So with that, I would like to present this certificate to East Ridge at Cutler Bay. Thank you for exemplifying excellence in community service and demonstrating an unwavering commitment to the South Dade community. Would you like to talk a little bit about East Ridge?
I'm just very excited to be there. Hello, everyone. This is a new venture for me. I've been with East Ridge and Cutler Bay now for 7, 8 months. Originally, I used to work for the Palace Gardens, which I just left, and it's absolutely beautiful. But I love Homestead, and I will continue to work with the city and with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Sylvie. And Sylvie is a Homestead resident as well.
No, I don't think it's Dateland Dodge, Spitzer Dodge. No, I don't think so.
Well, that concludes this. I want to congratulate everyone for was recognized tonight, and I want to thank the council members, Vice Mayor, and Mr. Williams and Mr. Roth for bringing to attention the fine work that you do. Appreciate everyone very much. We'll conclude this. We'll be back at 6 o'clock for our normal scheduled council meeting. Thank you all. Congratulations. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Wednesday, May 17th, 2017 council meeting to order. It's approximately 6 p.m. This evening we'll have the invocation by Pastor Reginald Joseph from the Haitian Evangelical Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance with our police explorers. Thank you. Could we all stand?
I ask everybody to join with me in prayer as I lift up my voice and pray for the city and the council. Oh, gracious, mighty God, we come to you tonight as humbly as we can. We thank you for the privilege to be in your presence. We thank you for the privilege to come and at your feet, at your throne, and to ask for your favor. Tonight, first and foremost, we want to thank you for the city of Homestead. We want to thank you for the council. We want to thank you for all the officials. We want to thank you for all the great works that has been done already in the city and the way of prosperity that is showing light in the streets of our city. We thank you for the protection that you have given us every day. We bless your name and glorify you for our police department and the way they have used their wisdom to go around and fighting crime and violence among us. We thank you for the wisdom that you have given to our officials for the decision that make in order to make us move forward. God, tonight we ask you to forgive everything that we have done or said, decisions in the city that is not glorifying your name and not pushing your kingdom ahead. And as we gather here tonight to discuss the matter for the citizens of this great city, we ask you to even give us more wisdom and help us to, in the discussion, to have respect for one another, to show kindness and compassion, and to use the wisdom, the heavenly wisdom that you have placed within us. So every decision will be for the benefits of the city, and your name will be glorified. Because we know that you care, and then we will care. We ask you all this not because we are worthy. We ask you all this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Savior and Lord, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Honor guard. Halt. Right. Face. Present. Arms.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Left. Face. Forward. March.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Pastor Joseph, and to the police explorers. Thank you very much. Nice to have you back. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Shelley? Here. Councilman Maldonado? Absent. Councilman Williams? Here. Councilman Roth?
Here.
Councilman Burgess?
Here.
Vice Mayor Fairclough?
Here.
Mayor Porter?
Here. Any additions, deletions, deferrals? None? The I'm sorry, James?
Tab 7, the quasi-judicial item, the applicant has asked for a deferral to the next council meeting.
Which tab again? Tab 7, okay. Do we need a motion to defer? Is there a motion to defer tab 7? Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Aye, motion carries. Yes, sir. Mr. Williams?
I know it's not a addition, deletions, or deferral, but point of personal privilege for a moment. On item number, tab 15, I was wondering if my colleagues would allow that to be moved up. I have to leave by a certain hour.
Any
Tab
opposition
15.
to tab 15 being moved forward?
And Lieutenant at arms need to leave too at 7.
I'm sorry?
Nothing, just tab 15, sir.
15. Okay, we had a motion and a second on the consent agenda, and we voted for it. It's all in favor? No, all in favor? And to move 15 up, there was a motion? Yes. And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Tab 15, Mr. Williams?
Yes, Mayor, it's a resolution. I defer to the able attorneys on this one, or the city manager.
Mr. Pearl?
Read the title. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County for the issuance of civil violation notices for violations of certain designated misdemeanor violations of the Miami-Dade County Code of Ordinances, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Questions from council? Mr. Burgess?
Thank you. I believe when we spoke of this last time, I had some questions about, there was talk of money and where that goes, and if people are to do community service, do they do it in our community, or how does that come about and things like that?
Okay.
And if you could just clarify those points.
Sure. The flow of money, there's a $100 fine. When the fine is paid, 16 to 17% is kept by the county for administration fees, and the rest comes back to the city. When there is an appeal, the city is responsible to pay the county for its administrative costs for the appeal. Right now, according to the county, that's roughly $127 per appeal. And I know the police staff has spoken with them about the frequency of those, and I defer to them on that. So that's the economics. With respect to having those individuals who elect to do community service in lieu of paying the fine, my understanding is currently they don't have a process in place to ensure that those people would be doing work within the city of Homestead.
Do they have a process in place to ensure that they
not
are doing
in
work
other
at all?
cities. Generally, it's at where the county designates them to go. But they weren't closed to the concept, and I know Captain John spoke to them about that specifically, so.
And Matt, we really have a hard time hearing you. You need to really.
I'm sorry.
I'm saying.
I'll
try
lean
and
in.
appreciate it. It's
No
really
problem.
hard to hear you. Captain?
Yes, sir. I did speak with them, and as of right now, when they set up the community service, and it usually is for county services, such as the parks or other county government buildings where they may do community service. So there's nothing set up with Homestead. They said, well, we could probably work something out. We can probably try to redirect something down this way, but the closest place that they had where they would send somebody is Homestead Air Force Base, which is obviously not in our jurisdiction. So as right now, well, that would have to be something that would be negotiated with them in order to make that happen.
So to the Air Force Base, on the Air Force Base itself, they would send them, or to the Air Force Reserve Park over there and have them do cleanup and
Possibly
whatever
the
there?
Air Force Reserve Park, not the base itself.
Right. Okay. I mean, to me, I think we need to keep working on that particular point, because I think if people are here offending in our community, let's make them help our community in a positive way, because we're trying to help them in a positive way, I believe, by giving them an opportunity to not have a mark on them if the police determine that that's the way to go. So I would like to see that we keep working on that particular point. And
They
see-
did say that they do try to send the offenders in close proximity where they live and where they committed the offense at.
Right.
But obviously, if somebody on the north end of the county we arrested down here, or not arrested, but gave them a citation, they would probably give them some sort of community service up on that north end of the county.
So, okay. Well, I would just like to see us continue to push to have them actually do work for us within the city here, if at all possible. And that would be my point at this time. Thank you. I'll reserve any other comments.
Mr. Roth?
Thank you, Mayor. On the interlocal agreement, the first whereas, and I get a little concerned about the monies here. Number 3 says the amount reimbursable to the county. That means for administrative costs. Does that mean that if something happens, Matt, in our city and somebody would appeal the citation and there's cost involved, we have to reimburse this county for administrative costs?
We do in certain instances. If they win the appeal, if they were to win the appeal, then we would. I think practically is how it's implemented, and if we were to lose the appeal, then we would be responsible for reimbursing them. This is not that dissimilar, though, from, let's say, an agreement we have with the state attorney's office where they prosecute in county court violations of our code that would result in jail time. So we have an agreement where we pay them $50 an hour. Here, the current rate is $127 for the appeals process. That's what they charge us when they hear an appeal. So if someone were to appeal and we were to lose, that would be the cost that the city would be obligated to pay.
So that's a normal course of business, no matter if they're arrested and taken to jail, we end up sending the county some monies for administrative costs and whatnot.
Well, no, this is, if someone's arrested and goes to jail, it's a slightly different procedure with respect to our code. It's an hourly rate that we would pay the state attorneys, and that's something that most cities in Dade County have. In this particular instance, the fee right now, although it's not fixed by agreement, so the county does have some ability to vary the cost. Right now, the cost would be $127.
Okay, so now I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. Mm-hmm. This is, in the eyes of the police department, is this a better process than arresting these folks and taking them to jail versus writing them a simple citation with a minimal fine of, I guess it was $25 up to $500 for, depending on the infraction? Does it save us any money manpower-wise that way if you're doing that? Because most of this is at the discretion of the officer, as I understand it, whether they take them to jail or they write them a citation and say, just pay the citation, whatever it might be. It's just for me, it's a fiscal thing. When is it more cost-effective to do it with a citation, or is it more cost-effective to actually arrest the person? And I understand what we're trying to accomplish. It's just I don't understand how this money flows around. But when it says that we have related amount to reimburse to Miami-Dade County for cost related to administrative costs, appeals, attorneys' costs, fees, costs due to the appeals and whatnot, I just don't know if it's, to me, financially responsible to enter an agreement like this where we're actually sending money to the county for other things, and we're not really collecting anything. It's costing us money to probably implement this program. So I guess my question is, from the police perspective, is this something you really think we need to adopt at this time? And I agree with John, Councilman Burgess, some of that community service time should be spent in the city if they're committing the offenses here in the city as well. I'll let you respond.
Captain?
Thank you.
As of right now, the cost to us would probably not that much of an impact. If we arrest somebody on a misdemeanor marijuana, those misdemeanor marijuanas, we don't have a pre-file on it, so the officer does not go to court. So it doesn't create overtime regarding that. Very few misdemeanor marijuana cases, if they stand alone as a misdemeanor marijuana arrest alone, do not go to trial. They're offered as some sort of pretrial diversion, so the officer doesn't go to court, so we're not having an impact as far as that goes. For an example, the county advised me they did about over 3,000 of these citations last year. Only about 20 went to trial. So it's very low amount of people that are actually, fighting this. Most of them are paying the fine or they're opting for the community service. And again, as far to answer Councilman Burgess' question, as far as the community service, I'm sure if we went further into this, we could probably work something out where they can redirect some of that down here to us. As far as manpower-wise, when an officer does make a marijuana arrest, it could take the officer 2.5, 3 hours to go through the process of writing a report, writing the arrest report, booking the individual, impounding the evidence. When he writes a citation, he's still going to have to write the citation. He's still going to have to go to the station, impound the evidence. He's still going to have to write an incident offense report. And a lot of that incident offense report is basically just transferred over from one program to another as it goes through the arrest report. So there's going to be very little change in downtime. So it's just another tool for the officer to have to exercise his discretion on how he wants to proceed with the case.
Yeah, I get it. And I mean, the citation is, a payment of citation is not an admission of anything, is it? It doesn't go on their permanent record.
No, this is completely.
It won't affect them in the future for getting a job or anything like that? I mean, is it like more like a traffic ticket that's just there, or, I mean?
Even less than it's a civil citation, so it doesn't count as an arrest itself. Now imagine, it depends on who they're going to go to work for, they may have to disclose such citation, but it still does minimize that.
Yeah, and I think I get your point about the 3,000 or so citations. I guess those people thought themselves to be lucky, let me pay the fine and go away, than to try to fight it, so I get it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams?
Thank you, Mayor. I brought this to the council for its consideration because I thought that it would be another tool for the officers to use in their discretion, and it's at their discretion. It does not lock them in to do this. They don't want, if they, I know we say he, but we have some female officers as well. So she or he who is doing the discretion could do this, and it would just, I've seen children's lives, persons' lives, period, destroyed, and for something that they did a long time ago. And I look at it, we all made some kind of irrational mistakes in life, and that if some of us was caught, we would probably not be here today. But this is an opportunity. Who knows? Could be my son one day. I don't know. Maybe the officer would have discretion. Any of our children. At this point in time, we don't know what our children do or persons do when they're not in front of us. But this does give a discretion to the officer to implement this. Let me just state this: the Senate passed legislation to require civil citations. And this was this year. And the Florida Senate, I'll read this, Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. The Florida Senate today passed, this is May 1st, this immediate release, passed House Bill 301, sponsored by Senate President Pro Tem Anitory Flores for our Miami Republican, Miami and Monroe. Legislative reform required regarding the issue of civil citations. I think that even with the state issuing something like this out and passing it for the governor to sign, I mean, the state is, moving into this direction. So it's only a matter of time before it really gets down to us. Now, this just deals with youth offenders, but I'm pretty sure a bill can come back and say all persons. And this is from the President, Joe Negron. He says, almost daily we see local, state, and even national news stories where law enforcement officers are brought in to referee the day-to-day challenge that comes with raising children, said Senate President Joe Negron, who has made juvenile justice reform a priority of his 2-year term as Senate President. We will not, or we should not, and we will not tolerate serious wrongdoing by young people, but at the same time, we should not stigmatize nonviolent first-time offenders, youth offenders with a criminal record that could impact their ability to further and educate and join our military or earn credentials for many other important jobs. House Bill 301 requires, so after a while this will be out of our hands, it requires law enforcement to issue a civil citation or require the juvenile participant in a diversion program when the juvenile admits to committing certain first-time misdemeanor offenses, including possession of alcohol, beverages, criminal mischief, trespassing, disorderly conduct, among others. So I think providing this resolution or interlocal agreement with the county, I think it's going to be great for our city for us to have this kind of meaningful option for our officers who spend probably a lot of time, even, and the captain didn't say this, but what if there is no person that's, let's say you don't have a jailer, how long does it take then if you don't have a jailer at the station?
Captain?
It really depends on when we're able to do a transport. Obviously, we have to have that person transported within a 6-hour window. But sometimes we may task another officer to go ahead and take a group of them up because they may be ready to go. that one officer who has the arrest, he can still continue to write his report while they're en route because they have this whole armband system now. So they can already be en route up there, and the arrest form is transmitted electronically to the county jail. So we have minimized our times as far as that goes. So, but it does take, if an officer does have to stop doing what he's doing and go to the county jail, it could take anywhere from, you know, an hour to, he can be caught up in lockdown up there and be up there for 4 hours. A busy night could be up there for, you know 3 hours guaranteed.
Yeah. So, and does that take an officer off the street?
Yes, sir.
Do you call somebody else in to replace that officer, or is it that you just have to do an overlay?
Well, we always try to make sure that if we don't have a jailer, that we have at least one above our minimum usually. So that would allow for us to not go below our minimum. So we're still within our guidelines of being able to run the street.
But a little extra doesn't hurt.
Obviously.
All right, okay. With that, Mayor, as I said before, I think this is a first step. I think the state's going to do something even more incredible next year. So, I mean, at least we will already kind of be prepared for something of this sort. So, thank you, Mayor. And with that, I hope that my colleagues would support this item. And if there are any other questions, I'd actually direct it to the Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Through the Mayor.
Mr. Burgess. Thank you, Mayor. Hold on, let me get this thing on. Go.
To Captain DeJean, to the mayor, if I could. Of those 3,000 citations that were written, does the county have a percentage of money that they actually collected on, or have they collected on 100% of them? Or what would be, and then two, and if I read it, Matt, maybe it's in there, what is the process for them? They send us a monthly check, a quarterly check, we get reimbursed once the defendant pays, or how does that work? To whomever.
I don't have a figure on what percentage they actually collect. I can work on that and get that for you. The way it was explained to me is that once it's paid, it's just like a traffic citation. If they pay the traffic citation, then it would come through just like our traffic citation payments. So it may be on a monthly or every other month basis as they collect them. I don't know their schedule, if they work out payment plans. If they end up working out a situation where a lot of them are taking community service as opposed to paying the fine, then we just have to make sure they're satisfied, that they satisfy those hours. And again, we don't have a system right now of being able to monitor that, but if they shift them down here, we would have to develop something to monitor those hours to make sure that we're getting the quality community service that we're supposed to be getting.
So I guess that leads me to a question. You envision us, if we were to bring people down here to do community service, and we would have to add a position somewhere to fulfill the needs and the requirements of tracking that and all that, and now that is done at the county, so there would be no position needed at this time if we were to follow the guidelines that are set now without requesting.
Right. The county would still do it. They would still like direct them to Homestead and to whoever we have as a liaison. And then we would have direct that individual to wherever we want them to do the community service. So we would still have to have somebody, either somebody that's currently in place, or again, go beyond that and find somebody that would be able to monitor that program. At this point, I don't know how big of an impact it would have based upon our last year's arrest. I don't think it would have that big of an impact based upon the information that I found, which is, I don't know if you want me to go into that.
I was just going to say, pursuant to the agreement, the clerk of the court would forward fines that had been collected on a quarterly basis to the city.
Okay. And then my second is, we can opt out of this. It looked like, I remember reading something about it, 3 years, and 3 years is to be reviewed by the county.
3 years, but
we can opt out.
You can terminate it on 30 days.
Right.
One at a time. I'm sorry.
Just us sending a notice of termination, or the county can send one to us, either way, if they did. So either way, okay.
You get your answer, Mr. Burgess?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Shelley?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. That is, as far as like officer liability or city liability in regards to what the criteria would be to issue a civil citation versus to make an arrest. I know it's within the discretion of the officer, but is there any concerns there about how that might be applied and making sure it's applied fairly? Has that been raised with any of the other, with the county and their processes that you're aware of?
Not that I've been made aware of. It's really to the discretion of the officer. It's based on a case-by-case basis and what's the circumstances involved in it. Based upon the arrest that we had last year, what I looked at was an age group of 18 to 25, all misdemeanor marijuana arrests that we had for that age group for last year. We had 104 arrests, to which most of them, all but 15, would not be eligible for that type of program, based upon the fact that they were either involved in some sort of other felony case, if they're involved in another incident, or they have like cocaine or some other felony involved, they wouldn't be able to get that citation because they're already going for a felony. Other circumstances are if you're driving in a car and you're in possession of marijuana, or you're smoking marijuana, or you had been, that you wouldn't be eligible. If you're on foot and you're smoking marijuana, like sitting at a park bench, you wouldn't be eligible. It's just the mere possession of it. And again, not inside of a car. So it really boiled down to the 104 people that we arrested in that age bracket, only 15 would have been eligible. And you really even have to look deeper into that, whether or not they would be eligible based upon, and it would be the officer's decision. For instance, if the officer was investigating a robbery, he stopped somebody that matched the description, the victim was uncooperative or whatever, but he knew this person is the one that did it and may be responsible for others, he may in fact arrest that person for the marijuana, at least to take him off the street until we can further identify him through other cooperating witnesses.
I guess the reason I asked the question is, I know like with the Senate's version of what they were proposing to pass, you know, it had the criteria. It said they shall issue a citation if A, B, C, D, or E are met. And I think this is just kind of a wide open discretionary thing at this moment in time. So what I would think would be a good thing to do is internally maybe to develop criteria, or whether that's something we develop later on would be up to us. But I just, so that there is a fair way of applying this, so that no one can come back and say, well, we had the same exact case and this officer decided to issue an arrest warrant versus this one saying civil citation. So I think it would be good for us to come up with that criteria to make sure that it's applied equally and fairly across all persons that are subject to one of these categories.
Yes, sir. And in regard to the Senate proposal before Senate, I believe that was applied to juveniles. I said that. Okay, juveniles. That's a system that's already in place.
No, correct. Well, what I was saying is that they had kind of had a criteria. So it was the civil citation shall be issued if A, B, C, or D. And so what I'm saying is that under this same type of scenario, we're going to have times where an officer could make a discretionary call. Should I issue a civil citation or should I not? And I think it'd be good for us to have guidelines, at least internally maybe through the police department or otherwise, that says these are the cases or these are the circumstances. If one of these are met, then the officer has the ability to use their discretion to choose, versus just kind of having a unclear, because I'd hate for it to be applied unfairly or differently to one individual versus another individual, and then have someone come back and make a claim that that particular officer or the city as a whole is treating this group fairly versus that group. So that's just a concern that I have with this discretion. I think we should add some criteria to it, not necessarily at this process, but at some point in the future, at least internally, it would probably be a good idea.
Yes, sir. And we do that as well as like with traffic citations. We make sure that it's done fairly in a manner that's efficient for everybody.
Thank you.
Captain, let me ask you a question about the drug paraphernalia part of this. I know some of it is a crack pipe, some of it is, how do you handle the differences there? As far as residue is concerned, can you explain, because that was a question mark for me.
Yes, if it's a pipe that's used to smoke marijuana, it would be treated just as a misdemeanor. If it's a pipe that has been used to smoke crack cocaine, it's treated as a felony because it contains the residue of crack cocaine itself, whether it's burnt or if it's unburnt cocaine. So then it's, by mere possession of that crack pipe, you could charge them with a misdemeanor. In most cases, we do charge with a felony based upon the residue of a felony-type drug.
There is a separation between the two?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Williams?
No, Mayor, I don't have anything.
Okay. Any more questions from council? I'm going to open up the public hearing. This is a public, I'm opening up the public hearing on this item on tab 15. You're welcome to come and speak for or against at this time. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Is there a motion from council?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fairclough? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, sir. Back to the original agenda, we're going to move to tab 8. Legislative matters, Mr. Attorney.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the budget for the city for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2016 and ending September 30th, 2017 by increasing the total budgeted revenue and expenditures by $36,824,008, providing for a repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Mr. Manager.
Mayor, on April 26, 2017, the city approved a $33.3 million contract with Axiom Dior Construction Company for the construction of the Multimodal Transit Center. In order to expend the funds, we need to establish the Multimodal Transit Center Capital Project Fund for fiscal year 2017. The proposed budget is $36,824,008. Funding is anticipated from the $30,170,000 bond issue, $5.7 million in repurposed PTP, aka Transportation Surtax funds from the county, and $954,008 in PTP funds on hand. This will fund the $33.3 million developer agreement for the construction of the Multimodal Transit Center. It will reimburse $2,897,448 to the general fund for the November 2016 land acquisition of 46 and 50 West Maury Napa parcels, and it will cover the $626,560 in bond issuance costs. Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve and amend the estimated revenues and appropriations to establish the $36.8 million Multimodal Transit Center Capital Project Fund for fiscal year 2017 budget as per attached Exhibit 1.
Questions from council, Mr. Burgess?
Thank you. Through the mayor to Mr. Gretzis, the manager, could you just please, for the public's clarification, because we did a bond here in the city a couple of years ago, and the people see that on their tax bill every year now. Would you just, for clarification and education, let them know that this bond and tell them exactly how this money is being brought to the city so that they don't think, because a lot of people heard bond and hear bond and think it's another tax put on them that's going to be showing up on their tax bill every year.
Sure.
And so I just want to clarify it for those people that may have a little bit of confusion or don't quite understand where these funds are all coming from. Thank you.
Sure. A couple of things. First, we'll start from the beginning, which is that the city is in the process of building a transit center in the downtown that will include at least 1,100 spaces, although as we're talking, the developer is looking to increase those spaces at their own expense. So we may go as many as 1,500 spaces at this point. We'll have a final number for you as they submit a site plan. But the idea is to build a transit center in the downtown, which would include street-level retail, about 30,000 square feet, and also an entertainment complex that would be funded by private dollars that would include 10 movie screens, 14 lanes of bowling, a video arcade, and food and beverage service. So that's kind of the project, and the garage itself is being funded by primarily transportation dollars. There's a transportation tax that is part of the sales tax, and each community gets allotment of those revenues. And unlike the bonds that you're talking about, which we went to the voters and asked them if they would have a slight increase in their property tax in order to fund a bond for those projects, the construction of the police department. This is what's called a revenue bond, And what it does is you get your money up front, you borrow the money up front, and you pay it off over time using your allotment of transportation tax dollars that you have. So the bulk of this funding is coming from that, what's called a revenue bond, and it will not impact property taxes at all.
Yes, sir. Any other questions from council? I'll open up the public hearing at this time. You're welcome to come speak for or against this, this item. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Williams? Yes. Councilman Burgess? Yes. Councilman Shelley? Yes. Vice Mayor Fairclough? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Madam Clerk, did we pass the consent agenda? Yes, we did. I thought we did. You have it passed? Okay. It was, okay, there was a little lack of clarity up here, so it is passed, so we'll move on. So next tab is tab 9.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the budgets for each of the several funds and departments of the city for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2016, ending September 30th, 2017, by increasing the total budgeted revenues and expenditures by $5,165,136, providing for repealer, severability, and an effective date.
Mr. Manager?
Carlos, did you want to take this one, or?
Carlos? Lead it.
Am I on?
Yes, sir.
Mayor and council. Yes, basically the budget amendment requires it's for $2.3 million that was basically from the sale of the bowling alley, the proceeds. Those monies had been in the general fund as basically unspendable at the time. Once a transaction went through, those funds became spendable. That was always deemed to be one of the sources of financing for the CYBRARY. So basically, the first part of this budget amendment is taking that money from unappropriated fund balance in the general fund and as a transfer to the CYBRARY fund, which we created back in January. Then in the CYBRARY fund, the same amount is basically going to be used for paying the development costs for Landmark and DLR, which was approved by council also several months ago. The rest of the money will remain in the CYBRARY fund to be used for other expenses. We also have a third item, which is $151,000 budget amendment, and that was for the landscaping contract that was approved by council recently. And at that time, we had told you that the amount of the bid had come in over what we had budgeted and that we would require a budget amendment. And then the last three items are basically housekeeping. It's just money that's available in unappropriated fund balance in the People's Transportation Fund, in the new police building, and in the Seminole Theater. And it's just the housekeeping, basically appropriating so that they can be used for those projects before the end of the year.
Thank you, sir. Questions from council? Mr. Williams?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, let me ask you a question through you to whoever you designate. How much is the total? I know you said that we voted on it, but what is the total amount for this cyber library for those who need to be updated on that?
Mr. Manager?
Mayor, right now, the DREAM project is $20 million, in which Landmark right now is looking to try to find a $4 million sponsor for. And so they've met with a variety of corporations they're looking for and potentially investors as well. So ideally, it'll be a $20 million project. As we get closer to finalizing plans and bringing you a project with a final project for bidding, we'll obviously have to finalize where our funding sources are totally committed, what's still in play, and ultimately pare down the project to something. We'll either get the investors for the $4 million or we won't. The library grant that we had expected from the state, that one, they took out all that funding for our libraries, so we'll have to figure out where to deal with that $500,000. And as we come to you with a final budget, we'll know a few more things. The plans will cost themselves out, so they're all estimates at this point. At some point, we'll have to go to bid and actually find out what the market costs are for everything, and then also how much of our funding is finalized, and then we'll have a final figure once all that kind of meets. very similar to the parking garage project, is you have a whole bunch of potential slots. We also have what's in play is the new market tax credits. We met with 4 banks yesterday. We'll be meeting with a bunch of banks tomorrow as well. And so there's a large potential for funding from new market tax credits as well. And we're hoping sooner than later we'll have final commitments on all these funding sources one way or the other, which will help us finalize the budget.
So, Mayor, are you saying that the cyber library is going to cost $20 million?
The CYBRARY could cost as much as $20 million if we're able to find an outside sponsor for the additional $4 million. If not, obviously the budget would be pared back.
Mayor, because all my questions have to go through you, so you have to answer from what he's, unless you're pointing, according to Robert Rules of Order. Then in that case, from the sale of the bowling alley, the $2.3 million, that since it was unappropriated, then that will be what's in the fund. So do we know how much is in the fund now, Mr. Mayor?
Carlos?
As of September 30th, based on the CAFR, you had unassigned in the general fund of approximately $18 million, and you also had your reserve requirement, which council approved, always keeping a 10% reserve requirement. So you have about $22 million in unappropriated fund balance in the general fund.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I said cyber library. How much is in the cyber library capital fund?
Oh, in the cyber, the only thing that we've passed there is the amount of the HUD loan, the $3,865,000. That's the only thing that we appropriated, and later tonight, hopefully you will be approving the Section 108 loan, and that will be the funding for those amounts.
Okay, Mayor, so that would be about $5 million, $5.5 million or something?
After tonight, yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions from council? I'll open up the public hearing at this time. Anyone who would like to speak for or against this item, you're welcome to come at this time. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Roth? Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Fairclough?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tab 10.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City of Homestead Code of Ordinance, repealing Article 6, Demonstrations and Parades of Chapter 2 Administration, providing for removal from the code, providing for severability, codification, providing for an effective date. Mr. Mayor, this section of the code is severely outdated. We've discussed with you individually that it really needs to be redone. At the moment, we're just repealing it, and we will come back to you with a new ordinance that would be updated and in compliance with current law.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from council? This is a public, Mr. Williams?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I heard said that to apply with the current law, what is the current law, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Attorney?
The current code section is out of date and really doesn't meet the standards of current case law. So the case law has changed since it was originally passed, and it really is outdated and doesn't comply with the current status of the law.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Williams?
Mr. Mayor, what is the current law now? That if this is out of conformity of that, what is the current law now? So I'm clear. Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Attorney?
There's a series of case law, which, if they were applied to this ordinance, would make this ordinance problematic to defend. Do you want to know the specific cases? Is that what you're asking?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Williams?
I'm just asking, what is the current law? When you say case law, but what is the current law that will have this not in, to quantify that we have to repeal this? What is the current law now that will make this outdated?
If this was challenged under the current case law, it would be found to be illegal.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Whatever that is.
Any other questions from council? I'll open up the public hearing at this time, updating an ordinance. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second? Second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Shelley? Yes. Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess? Yes. Councilman Williams? Yes. Vice Mayor Fairclough? Yes. Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tab 11, resolution.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an agreement between the City of Homestead and Sisters of Abundant Living to implement the United States Department of Agriculture Summer Food Service Program, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Staff report. Mr. Manager.
Mayor, Sisters for Abundant Living, a nonprofit organization, wishes to operate a mobile summer meals unit out of Roby George Park between the months of June to August. The program is sponsored by the Florida Department of Agriculture and is a community partner with Florida Impact, which assists them with site and partner development. Currently, there are more than 3,500 supervised locations in Florida that offer a breakfast, lunch, or snack. The organization operates 4 mobile units that serve 14 locations near the Little River, Liberty City, Alapata, South Dade, and Homestead communities. On average, Sisters for Abundant Living serves 450 youth daily during 10 weeks of summer. In 2016, they served more than 22,000 meals over the summer months, putting more than $80,000 in federal resources into communities. Summer meals are free to the community for children under 18. Sisters of Abundant Living is also asking for funding to cover $750 required by the insurance carrier. Staff seeks direction on a proposed program to provide summer meals to youth during the 10 weeks of summer. The attached resolution would authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services for the city to serve as USDA Summer Food Service Program sponsor.
Questions from council? Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Not a question, just a comment. Sisters for Abundant Living reached out to me a couple months ago to determine ways that they can partner with us to bring summer meals, healthy meals to our community. And I was honored that they thought worthy of Homestead to bring this program to the city of Homestead. I can't think of another municipality that is providing full service support for the youth in the community. We're providing summer jobs, and hopefully if this passes tonight, we'll be able to provide summer meals to a very needy population in our community, up to 18-year-olds, and any special needs children that are 19 and above. So I encourage my colleagues to support this agenda item because it is adding to the quality of life in the community and engaging a key stakeholder group within the city of Homestead during a very important time of year. And that is the summer when they're not in school. Half the time they're not engaged, but not this year because we have lots of program and hopefully we can feed them as well. So I encourage my colleagues to support this initiative tonight.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Williams?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, to my esteemed colleague, Vice Mayor. Mr. Mayor, my question is, how many are they prepared to feed at Roby George Park? What is?
Dennis?
I know we asked the organization to come here tonight, Councilman Williams. If they're here, maybe they can answer some of your questions.
Would you come forward, please? Just give us your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Kendra Bullock Major, the Program Director for Sisters for Abundant Living. Councilman Williams, to answer your question, we serve right now, we've actually added on this year 2 additional mobile units, and we are looking to implement the program at Roby George Park. So we, I would say we are safely able to serve up to 200 a day at that particular location. Of course, we know that it's a community site, so you know, we're not quite sure what the participation will be. So if that's something that we have to increase, we will be prepared to do that as well.
Mayor.
Mr. Williams?
Mr. Mayor, that will be my question because, and Mr. Mayor, they're saying every day, 5 days a week? Is that what I'm understanding?
Correct. It will operate Monday through Friday.
And so approximately 200 meals a day, Mr. Mayor? And I'm worried that the word would get out And once the word gets out, I don't know how.
Well, that's a good thing.
I know that's good, but how would you, Mr. Mayor, how would they accommodate that, if it comes up to 400 miles a day? Just because, I mean, that sector over there, you have a lot of migrants, you have a lot of underserved. I know I've seen in here where it says, Homestead community, so I'm not sure where else within Homestead, or is this the only
We
Homestead
do have
location?
other locations. This will be the first year for this particular location.
Okay.
But we are starting out with the numbers of 200, but we are prepared to serve even more. Our max, there really is, to be honest with you, an unlimited number of meals that are available. What we typically do in an event, if there's a day that we have to turn children away, we do let our parents know that it's a first come, first served basis, but they can come back the next day, and we do increase the meals daily if we find that to happen. So if we turn away, say, 20 kids or 30 kids, then the mobile unit comes back the next day with an additional amount of meals. In total, as was mentioned, our program last year served over 22,000 meals. So we average, based on our mobile units right now are at a total of 14 stops, but we do have our brick and mortar sites, which are about 80. So we serve on average right now 5,500 meals per day.
Okay. Another question, Mayor.
So 200 to 400 is,
Is okay. Okay. Mayor,
Williams.
yeah, I think this is excellent. I mean, to my colleague who brought this before us, I see this as a plus. What will, Mr. Mayor, what would be the hours of operation again?
We
for
are
this?
operating this particular site from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m.
Okay, all right.
Which is
1:30.
the peak time for lunch. And then also, what we, the meals, as we call it, is kind of a draw for the children, but I like to kind of call it a mobile summer camp, because they do provide other activities
good.
while the children are serving the meals, while the children are eating the meals.
Okay.
So we set up picnic tables, canopies, and then we also provide fitness activities for the youth. So.
All right. And your staff will be able to.
Right,
Mr.
our
Mayor,
staff implements the program, and they
Implement.
are trained on Spark and various fitness activities with the children.
Okay, and clean up?
We do provide the cleanup. The only thing that we ask, and we have spoken with Parks and Recreation, is that there is adequate equipment as far as receptacles so that we can dispose of any garbage or anything like that. But our staff is responsible for that. And the van is adequately staffed to accommodate the number of children.
And Mayor, might I ask another question? Your date of start, what day do you plan on starting if this passes?
The start date is June 12th, which is that Monday as soon as school
After
is
school is
out.
out.
And it runs until that Friday just before they go back to school, August 18th.
August 8th. I'm overjoyed. That's my area. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you,
Thank
Vice
you.
Mayor.
Vice Mayor?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. There was a concern about the amount of meals that would be served during the day. Because this is a high-need community, and we know if the word gets out, in your words, not mine, that can be a potential problem. However, there are several summer break spots throughout Miami-Dade County that serves the USDA healthy meals. And there's one in walking distance from Roby George Park. I believe Laura C. Saunders Elementary, which will be holding summer school, will be a summer break meal spot location where there is an unlimited amount of lunches that will be provided. So you don't have enough over there, they
Then
can
our staff
attend
can
Laura C.
direct
Saunders Elementary School.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Burgess?
Thank you. I see a request for funding of $750 through the mayor to the manager, I guess. Is that something that we're prepared or you're prepared through a certain account? Or is that something that we should try to cover ourselves under from our public, from our accounts, I mean, so as we don't open, as Mr. Shelley would call it, Pandora's box, and have many other people come to us looking for money.
If
to
that's
cover
an
their
offer,
insurance.
if that's an offer, we'll take it.
Because I mean, I think that that's something we should look at to cover up here, if we're going to do that, so that we don't go into the coffers and start opening up the box, as Mr. Shelley would say. And we've done it for other charities or other events of this sort. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Roth?
Thank you, Mayor. My question is that $750, does that cover the whole summer?
That's correct, yes.
so it's not a per diem. And then at the park itself, is there any other activities going on at that time? Do we have a city-sponsored summer camp going on at the park during that time?
Councilman Roth, our summer camp is at the minor league clubhouse at the sports complex. At Roby George will be basketball that the kids come play every day, and also the pool will be open. So it's really a great location because there's going to be a lot of kids there. So we do not have no programs there at that time.
Okay, so there's nothing the city sponsored at the park during that period of time? It's just a public park. They can come play, they can leave, they can do what they want to do?
That's correct, it's public.
Okay, all right. That's all, Mayor, thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Mayor, this is a comment or a statement, let me say that. You know, I view this so differently because I view this as them partnering with us, and for $750 out of 100, as the city manager would say, $180 million budget, surely they can find $750. I don't think this is opening up Pandora's box. I mean, they're giving, I don't know how much those meals will cost, but the valuable service on this for the entire summer to June 12th to August 18th is just invaluable to give out those kind of meals to with, I mean, they can come from all over the city. Am I right? You know, all over the city they can come to get this food or these meals from that slot of time. And I just think that this service is invaluable. That it has no dollar amount, and I think $750. And just to clear the record, Pandora box is my corn of my turn. Okay, not Mr. Shelley's.
Anything else, sir?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Mr. Burgess.
Well, thank you. And it's not a negative comment towards them at all, Mr. Williams, because, or any other people that come here pitching their ideas or their programs or anything like that. I just think that I thought that we had set a tone in the past of kind of covering these type of things when people needed them. They're not really here asking for, you know, a straight out fee waiver, and we had addressed those type of things in the past. Several meetings back, we kind of set some standards as to what we were looking for. So, and I'm going to go ahead and put $250 of my money out there tonight to help cover this. So, and if anybody else would like to chime in and bring the balance up, then we can do that. But that's what I'm going to do tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, just a comment. I mean, I'll support it either way. I'm not going to, you know, nickel and dime it tonight. As it relates to the summer and the youth with the summer jobs, we entered into an agreement with Career Source South Florida to provide summer jobs, summer employment to our youth. And I feel this is on the same spectrum as that. It's a little elevated than, you know, other nonprofits coming in here asking us to support their initiatives. I think this is on a different scale. So entering into an interlocal agreement is something that I will support, because $750, the return on the investment that we can potentially get as a result of this interlocal agreement, I think far exceeds the $750 expenditure.
And I would just like to add,
Was
for
that
your
all, Vice Mayor?
summer,
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
for your summer program, your employment program, any youth under the age of 18 is eligible for this program. So it is a service that can be provided to the youth who you're providing employment for as well, at the locations where they are employed. And then also, as far as the $750 for the insurance requirement, our agency is insured, and we operate in several other municipalities that do require liability insurance. One of the issues that we ran into, however, was the city of Homestead. Your limit requirements are a little bit higher than some other municipalities. So there were some increased endorsements and things like that that were required. So that's actually where the request came from. But it is a service that, you know, like you mentioned, is invaluable to the community, and it's something that not only at Roby George Park, but you throughout the city can benefit from.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Manager, this resolution is drafted with the concept of the $750 being part of this vote. correct? You've already,
If you approve this, unless you change it, it's coming from contingency. So like the councilman said, $750, we'll find it one way or the other. So if you want to put it up, great. If not, we'll put it up through the contingency, and that's it. We just need direction on that. It's okay either way.
it's proposed as is with the 750 attached.
Yeah. All right, so now that we 500 from contingency.
So as of now, it's 500. Mr. Williams?
I think we should roll with that, Mr. Mayor, 500.
I agree. Let me open up the public hearing at this time. You're welcome to come and speak for or against this great program. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move it, Mayor.
Is there a second? Second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Burgess? Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley? Yes. Vice Mayor Fairclough?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tab 12.
Thank you.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing submission of a grant application to the Florida Division of Cultural Affairs Cultural Facilities Program, requesting $500,000 for the Homestead CYBRARY, further authorizing an amount of $1 million as the city's required matching funds.
Questions from council, Mr. Williams?
Yeah, no, Mayor, I was
No
just saying, no questions, just, I don't have a problem with this. I think we should move it. We've just heard we've transferring 2.3 million, and there's already, other potential sources. So any other funding that we can use to get this done, then let's do it.
Yes, sir. Any other questions from council? Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
I forgot to open up the public hearing. Anyone like to speak for or against?
Question, my Toastmasters group had a contest at the library here, and I asked the people there, what's going to happen with the library when and if the cyber library happens? They said that's a good question. They would like to know. So I'm just curious, county library, Homestead library, cyber library, can you kind of tell me where that all mixes out here? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions or comments from the public? Close the public hearing. Mr. Manager, with regards to, I know you've had conversations with the county library system as to incorporating,
We have. Our original concept was to do a turnkey operation, basically raise the funds ourselves through outside sources and then turn the facility over to them and for them to run it. They have decided that they don't want to run this type of facility. And so ultimately the decision on whether to operate that current facility or not would be theirs. And so that is, I guess, they've yet to formalize that answer.
and furthermore, there is in the agreement the city's ability to always opt out at any time of the county system.
Correct.
So obviously we would have to opt out, but the concept was to have no break-in services. I know that's what
Right,
you've been working on.
in discussions with them, assuming that they formalize that they don't want to run the new facility, and they formalize that they don't intend to keep this particular facility open, then they have expressed an interest in working with us to make sure it's a seamless transition so that there's no void between one facility being open and another.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there a motion on tab 12? Move. Is there a second? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Burgess? Yes. Councilman Shelley? Yes. Councilman Williams? Yes. Vice Mayor Fairclough? Yes. Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tab 13.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending Resolution 2016-12-123, approving revised agreements necessary for the acceptance of a loan from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development under Section 108 program for the development of a 21st century library, providing for implementation, providing for an effective date.
Mr. Manager.
Mayor, this is just the next step in the loan application process. This is the final resolution for approval of the loan documents, which will provide the city with $3.865 million 20-year loan from HUD. The loan will be repaid through the city's annual CDBG entitlement grant funds. The resolution also provides for the city to maintain a $306,000 fully funded debt service reserve fund throughout the term of the loan and to covenant to budget and appropriate legally available non-ad valorem revenues as a backup pledge for the loan. Staff's recommendation, the mayor and council approve the attached loan documents and resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the Section 108 loan agreement with U.S. Housing and Urban Development to provide $3,865,000 towards the CYBRARY project.
Questions from council, Mr. Williams?
Mayor, this is a technical question. What happens if the federal government decides to shrink the pot in the CDBG dollars? Then how do we manage that, Mr. Manager? I mean, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager?
It would depend on how much they shrink the pot by. So it really, the reason we did the 20-year loan is so that we have some flexibility if it shrinks. The history on CDBG program has been very good, and so that's why most feel comfortable with these Section 108 loans, because the history has been, 20 years the programs have been going on, Cal? 40 years? So I think that was what we're relying on, is the 40 years of history, but in the event that it shrinks, it really would depend on, does it shrink completely? Do they take it away completely? Our payment would be, the annual payment is what we'd be most concerned with. How much is the annual payment?
Carlos?
It's just an estimate right now, but we have it at about $260,000 annually.
So that's real. We want to have to just make sure if in the event that it shrinks beyond that payment, then there's a covenant to budget and appropriate. So you'd have that as the backup.
Mayor, thank you. Mayor, have they, in past times, I know this is new for us to go in this direction, but maybe the professionals in the room, have there in past times been a point where in certain areas the CDBG dollars have not grown but have got smaller through that 40-year history, even though we're living under new different times?
Yeah, it's Calvin Knowles. I'm your consultant with the block grant program. Yeah, there are fluctuations. It's mostly been a pretty straight and steady line. It creeps upward, but it just depends. Some administrations cut, some increase, and there's really no way to tell. I personally have never seen it fall dramatically, and everything I've heard says that it's going to be continued at current levels. No one knows for sure. If it provides any reassurance to you, I had an opportunity to sit down with Secretary Ben Carson last month when he was in Miami, and I asked him specifically about this program and specifically what the city was trying to do. And I told him there was some anxiety, and the Secretary told me that I should not be concerned. So he said that if a program works, then it will continue to be funded. And I told him I would relay that if I had the opportunity. So I am relaying that to you.
I'm sorry for laughing, not at you, but the comment that you made, you say, don't worry. Okay. He's a neurosurgeon, so I'm worried. I'm worried. But with that, that's fine. I just want to know if we had a plan of action if we could not, Mr. Mayor, if the levels does shrink down, then was the city prepared to grapple with that note, and that we have the capacity to be able to do that along with some of the other things that we're doing. So just want to make sure that we had a plan on that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manager, also, I mean, the intention, we have agreements in place that will be revenue generators for the library. There are some written agreements that if it goes as well as it appears that it's going, there's a good possibility they would be revenue generated to help offset the cost of.
I mean, that certainly is the hope, but we like to under-promise and over-deliver, so.
Understand, but the point is, you know, that there is an opportunity for the city to be able to realize an income stream at some point in time.
We believe so, yes.
With this. Okay. Any other questions? This is a public hearing. I'm opening up the public hearing at this time. Tab 13. Close the public hearing. Is there a motion? There's seconded. All in favor? Oh, excuse me. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess? Yes. Councilman Shelley? Vice Mayor Faircloth?
Yes.
Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Tab 14.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, accepting a grant award from the Children's Trust of Miami-Dade County for a youth summer college preparation program, approving the grant agreement, authorizing the city manager to execute the grant agreement, establishing a budget, the amount of $140,328 for the expenditure of grant funds, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Manager.
Mayor, the police department was awarded grant funds from the Children's Trust of Miami-Dade County with the purpose of implementing an 8-week college preparation summer program. The program will familiarize 54 to 60 middle and high school students with the college application process and will prepare them for acceptance to higher learning institutions. A portion of the program will be dedicated to preparing mock college applications, will assist in setting career goals and identifying the necessary steps that are required to reach those goals. Students will also work on improving their academics through an online instructional program, which challenges the participants to reach higher levels of academics by completing different thought-provoking exercises. Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution and authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Children's Trust of Miami-Dade County to implement an 8-week college preparation summer program through the Homestead Police Athletic League. The grant award for the summer program is $140,328, and what better way to spend the summer, Mayor?
Correct. Questions from council, Mr. Williams?
Yes. Mayor, what are the hours of the program?
Mr. Manager? Mr. Manager, with hours?
Sandy is here, and she can tell us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I've asked Officer Tate and Alicia to join us.
We only one at the podium at a time, so that's our rule. So I hate to.
Okay, basically, the program is going to run from 8 to 3 every day. There's all kinds of activities going on during that time that were explained in the memorandum.
8 to 3?
Yes.
Mayor, this is great. I understand that this brainchild came from Officer Tate and others, and this is great to be able to do this. How are the children, Mayor? How are the children chosen to participate, and is there any time slots available if a child can't make so many days? What do you have in place to, prepare? How are they kicked out of the program, or how would the youth be chosen to spend this?
Well, we have different avenues in order to encourage children to attend, young adults. We also partner with communities and schools. And they're at Homestead Senior now. They're there year-round, and they're identifying children who would maybe meet the profile for this type of a program. Our main thrust is to encourage children who live in the neighborhood and who need this type of a program, and what we're trying to encourage them to go on to higher learning opportunities. So we're hoping we can recruit from the community, the surrounding community.
Mayor.
Mr. Williams.
Mayor, the community, I think the program will take place at FICO Williams Community Center. And so you're saying within that community, you look to be able to foster that development. And is that right? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, sir. We've also met with the schools that serve that community, and we have the social workers and the counselors and the teachers aware of the program and helping us and identify the students. So yes, it is around FICO Williams, that community.
And Mayor, statement, they can go at 1:30 to 2:30 to get their lunch. So, but if that will not, to Robert George, which is across the street. So if that, could you tell me a little bit more about how children are chosen and what are your background if they, they drop out of the program, how is that done? I know you're saying you're recruiting, but if you have 80 students that say I want to attend, and you only have 54 slots, I believe, or participants and chaperones, how many of that is chaperones? How many of that is students?
Well, we really have 60 slots.
Okay.
However, we anticipate that approximately 10% will not stay in the program.
Mhm.
They will choose other avenues, and so that brings us down to the 54. It's basically almost like a contract
Okay.
with the children that they will stay in the program for the 8 weeks in order to go on the college tours, in order to take the trip throughout the state, and also to go to SeaWorld at the end of the 8 weeks. So that is the incentive. We're picking, obviously, we're hoping for children who do have a desire to participate in higher learning.
Okay. I was just looking, and maybe you can just briefly, what will be your curriculum to keep them engaged in such? I'm trying to. I thought I had read it.
We have, through this grant, we're purchasing, I believe it's 32 laptop computers in
Right.
which they will, it's the Khan Academy.
Yeah.
And it's an interactive program that for science, for math, and I believe history. And as they obtain certain levels, then they get to go up. It's almost like a gaming type thing.
Mhm.
But it's a best practice, and it's been proven to help those that are struggling conquer their own, to achieve. So that is what we're using during the day.
Okay. And is there any recreation during that time?
There is
Yeah.
organized sports through the PAL program. This is a PAL program, so there are organized sports as well, basketball, I would say football.
Something close. Maybe this question may be for Officer Tate, Mr. Mayor.
Officer, could you get to grab a microphone over here, please, behind the...
Let's go ahead. Mr. Mayor, would you ask Officer Tate, will he provide me from 8 to 3 what the schedule look like? And if I'm coming to the camp, tell me how I would arrive and what my day will be planned.
Okay, well, the schedule is broken down into basically 2 parts. We're working with teachers, certified teachers that work within the high school ranks that pretty much helped us put this schedule together. So, well, we'll start off with breakfast initially in the morning. Then we're going directly into our core subjects, which are reading, math, and science, which will be instructed by teachers that teach those subjects during the regular school year. The teachers are coming up with those curriculums themselves and to fit each student's needs, specific needs. After that, they'll, after the core curriculums are completed, then there's lunchtime. Then after lunch, then we'll go into the health and wellness portion, the physical fitness portion, and also the college preparedness, ready for success portion. And through those portions, the college and ready for success, that's when we'll be working on the college portfolios, college applications, tracks that the kids should be on each year or should meet each year from 9th through 12th grade to get to the college of their desire.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mayor, I think this is an excellent program, and to find funding for such hybrid kind of program. Most summer programs you see is just out the door fitness kind of thing, but this is integrated into something totally different, and I'm glad that we have something like this coming at FICO Williams, and so Thank you, Mayor. I support this fully. There shouldn't be, not one person should have something to say that say we're not doing our best to keep our kids out off the streets in the summertime, and it should not be. We should all be able to point to some program that we've got in the city to say, hey, we are concerned. We have heard the cry, and we have put these things in place. And so, so hopefully we need more spaces to be able to get more persons, because I think this program is going to be a total success, and I think you're going to have more than kids that you would need. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I think this is incredible that we are providing this to such a key stakeholder group in the community, because historically the summer programs are for elementary age children, and there's always a gap in services for middle school and high school children. And considering the headlines that have been made from youth within that age group, I think it's incredible that this program is being provided to them. And I really want to make sure that it works and it is effective. So my question is, you asked a lot of them, Councilman, and they've been answered. No, it's all good. With the teachers, you said teachers with secondary education experience?
Yes. Yes.
Have the teachers already been identified?
Yes, we have 4 teachers identified, and we're meeting with 2 or 3 more teachers before the end of this week.
Were these positions advertised?
To a certain extent, we identified a few teachers early on. We met with a few others that couldn't fulfill those positions at the end of the day, and a lot of it was through word of mouth.
Okay, with positions like this, I think they should be advertised so that you can pull from a broad talent of teachers, considering there are so many that aren't working over the summer.
Right.
And the teachers that have been selected, do they have ESC experience?
I'm not sure if they all have ESC experience. I can find that out
They probably should.
Speaking with the teachers.
Considering middle and high school, you're going to have a range of intellectual capacities.
Yes.
And some kids may be in high school on the middle school level. Some may have individual education plans. So a teacher with basic secondary education experience may not be as credentialed to work with students that may have exceptional challenges. So teachers with ESC experience, I think, will be great for the program.
Well, I know the teachers that we've identified from now, all of them have at least over 10 years of experience. If I'm not mistaken, the 4 that we have all have master's degrees in their field, and they've worked with a wide variety of students in different levels.
But the concern is you can have the experience, but if you don't have the ESC experience, it's a different ballgame. Like, I don't have ESC experience,
Yes.
so I couldn't work with kids with intellectual challenges.
Okay, well, from Alicia, she recalls 2 of the teachers having ESC experience.
Okay. As far as the curriculum, I know there's the Khan Academy component, which is a technology-based component. Is there a mechanism to progress monitor the children as they participate in the technology component?
Well, with Khan is monitored, and it spits out their progress as they take the test. Also, there's another program that we're looking to use, which was suggested by one of the math teachers that's going to come in. It's called Alex.
What is it called?
Alex.
Alex?
Yes, this teacher advised us that he's used this program in the past, and it's responded with great results for him.
Is it ALEX?
ALEKX.
ALEKX. Is that a research-based program?
From my understanding, yes.
State approved?
I'm not sure if it's state approved. It's used for EOCs. And I know he said he used it in his classroom with a lot of his students that were behind in the EOCs, which helped them pass the EOCs for his class and his grade level students.
Okay, so that works. So the teachers that you've identified now, you say they're working on the curriculum aspect of it, because I was reading the agenda item and it has an overview of what the kids will be doing, but as far as the core content areas, the teachers are working on the curriculum?
Yes, when we put this grant together, we understood and we knew what we wanted to have, but of course, we're not teachers. So
Right.
once the teachers came in and they're able to identify the core and the details of the curriculum that they want to get across to the students. So once we identified the teachers, now we're working with them to come up with the curriculums in more detail to facilitate the growth that we want to see over the 8 weeks for the summer.
When will they finish with the
We're
curriculum
working on
component?
that. We're meeting with them this Friday. We met last week, Friday, so we're going to update from our last meeting. And once we get the details from there, we'll see where we need to go from there. So this Friday. So we're looking to be done within the next couple weeks with the curriculum for the program.
Okay, if you can email that to me so that I can take a look at it. You know, agenda items like this just naturally pique my interest, so I'm not drilling you. I'm just curious.
No problem.
And yeah, I would really like to see the curriculum, and I would advise if they would have progress monitoring checkpoints in there to check for understanding, to make sure what they are implementing is effective. And if it's not being effective according to the assessment, that they look at it again to redirect and ensure that the kids are meeting their progress points.
Well, Vice Mayor, that is a big push of what we're doing. We don't want to just put something out there to say that we
Exactly.
put something out there. Our goal for this program is to make a difference in these kids' lives and to expose them to different things and also show them that they can do it. And if we're not effective in what we're doing, then there's no need for us to be doing it. So we really want to make sure that we're effective in every aspect of this program.
I see that there are 2 meetings that the parents are required to attend.
Yes.
What role will they play in this?
Well, the 2 parent meetings, we're going to instruct the parents on, first of all, we're going to instruct the parents on what the program is about, make sure that the parents are aware of their kids' progress, but also we want to include them and give them some instructions on some of the things that where the health and wellness, healthy living comes in, and what to expect no matter what grade level that their kids are in. We're also preparing the parents for their kids' transition into life after high school. So whether it's, whether it's what course or track that their kids should be meeting each grading period and each year, and also what they should expect when it comes to filling out financial aid paperwork, filling out college applications, and preparing the parents for that.
Okay, I think you're really onto something here, and if it's well-written, well-executed, well-implemented, I think you potentially have a model that can be replicated in other municipalities. So I look forward to seeing how this college prep program progresses this summer.
Yes.
Anything else, Vice Mayor? That's it. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone is welcome to speak for or against this program. Seeing none, close the public hearing. Roll call, Madam Clerk. Oh, is there a motion? Is there a second? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley? Yes. Councilman Burgess? Yes. Vice Mayor Fairclough? Yes. Mayor Porter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mayor?
Yes, sir. Mr. Williams?
Yes, I'd like to be excused from the meeting at this time. I do notice that there's a Southwest Master Plan for under tab 18, and so I will have to leave. I won't be able to be here to.
We'll
deal
move
with
that to the next meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
17 also.
And 17, Mr. Williams?
17.
17 and 18 are both under your discussion.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
17.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We've done tab 15, tab 16, discussion item. Mr. Burgess?
Thank you, Mayor. Back in 2013, this council voted to pass a resolution in support of a smoking ban at our local parks. And unfortunately, it did not pass at the state level. but I've been out at the Little League and various other events with my son, and I think it's something that we should look at as a whole here, and ban the use of tobacco products, and even e-cigarettes should be added into it, as we try to make our parks a family atmosphere with health and physical fitness as a priority when people are there. And I think that these smoking of cigarettes and e-cigarettes and stuff, one, sets a bad example, and two, you're kind of a captive audience. So if you're sitting there and somebody in the stands is smoking, it's hard to say something to them. So I would like to see what we could do, and if there is support for a ban at our facilities, is what I would be asking for, a full ban on tobacco products and e-cigarettes at our public parks and facilities like that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Question, I guess, to the attorney. Would we need to have a designated location at a park where they could smoke, similarly to like other buildings that you have a smoking area, or could we outright ban completely?
Well, we'll have to take a look at it right now. The way that the state law is written is the regulation of smoking is pretty much preempted to the states, and there are several AGOs on point. So if we're looking for some flexibility, I'll have to see if we can find a workaround and figure out what that would look like if we could come up with anything at all.
So, Mr. Burgess, your question is the intent of the council to go forward and have the staff bring back more information?
Well, that and two, and then you said that the state kind of preempts stuff. Well, how is it that the Baptist Hospital, because they're a private entity, they're allowed to say it's a tobacco-free, where we cannot say that? Is that the line of difference between the two things?
Well, the state statute specifically preempts regulations to the states and supersedes municipal and county ordinances. They have a general prohibition on indoor workplaces, that smoking is banned, and they have exemptions for standalone bars and certain restaurant facilities. But generally, the regulation is limited to what they have carved out in that statute. In terms of ownership, I'd have to take a look. I'm not sure what their distinction is and how they've gone about doing it. I'm not familiar with how Baptist implemented their program.
Okay. Because I know that some professional stadiums are looking at doing it too. So I just wondering what's the line of differential, what differentiates them from our ability to do it, I guess, is
well, I'll have to take a look at the difference between public and private.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Shelley?
Yeah, no, I support his concept of moving forward, at least getting staff to look at the issue. What can we do? What are our limitations? Are other cities doing something similar? Have they done them? Have they been challenged on it? But yeah, I think that, staff can look at that and bring it back to us, and we may decide that we may have to go legislatively and support. I think there was some sort of concept of that, maybe this last legislative session. Is there a bill that was percolating through, or?
There have been a number of bills at certain points where municipalities have made the push previously to allow specifically what you're asking for, and
it just never got passed or never got done.
I don't think it's made its way through, but this is where we are at the moment.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Then, for discussion purposes, is there anyone that's opposed to having the information brought back to us so we can look at it more in depth? None. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Burgess?
No, thank you.
We're going to skip 17 and 18 and tab 19. Councilman Roth, Mr. Roth.
Thank you, Mayor. What did you say?
Paint colors.
Paint colors, right. I wanted to bring this out so we could have a discussion and maybe give some direction in light of what happened recently. I think a few of us got some phone calls with some national company that had some paint issues with the code, and they got held up in their project, and it took some time, and it took some phone calls, and then eventually we got it resolved. And after reading the code and the ordinance, there's basically no flexibility from staff to make any reasonable decisions when it comes to challenges like this one. So I thought it'd be a good idea to explore this specific topic and then challenge the development services to begin to look at the rest of our code, and if they have been, to start to bring some of their recommendations to us that will help ease some of the problems that folks continue to complain about, that it's a challenge to do some business with the city of Homestead. So I don't know, kind of, Mayor, where to take this discussion, where to, how anybody up here feels about this, but I think some flexibility may be in order when development services is challenged with a situation like this.
Can I?
Absolutely, take over.
One of the, and I know the situation you're talking about when Napa Auto Parts moved out of their existing building into their new building. The city could not match up a color palette to Napa's national franchise chain, which is what they are recognized at. And that's like their logo almost, that color blue. And so how, it's kind of like, why would we as a city take a national franchise, whether it's a Wendy's, whether it's a Burger King, whether it's a Napa, whatever it is, they've got their national recognized color standards. This has happened before. And when, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look at our color palette, but there's not much there. I mean, I asked Jerry, and we went down to development services, and it was basically all pastels. Very, very little to choose from. So I have to agree with Mr. Roth. We've kind of boxed ourselves into a corner, and I think we need to work our way out of it. Either do an expansion on our color palette, or take some sort of an approach to look at a national designation, or exempt some sort of national designation of franchise. What it'd be like Lowe's came in. You don't let them put up their blue and white sign because it doesn't match your color palette. So that's the kind of ridiculous thing that I think that we saw with Napa, and it does make us look a little ridiculous sometimes. So to the councilman's question, what is the process? I mean, how do you bring this back to us? Can you bring this back to us with some sort of approach to deal with this problem? Mr. Cordino?
Yes, sir. I think that we can. What I believe we need to do is research how other cities do colors and provide you a variety of options on directions to go, and then let you all choose which direction you want to go. One of the things we can do is keep the same ordinance that we have and expand the colors. I think you're correct that these colors seems to be limiting. I think there are like almost 50 shades of white in there at some point in time. But maybe there are options of not even to have one and just let folks do what they want, to put something up which is to allow every color but only at a certain intensity, which I know that other cities do. I don't think we can allow one user to have special privileges over another. For instance, a national chain to be able to put whatever they want up or can put up without, and a regular user not to. But we can bring those options back to you in a couple of months, and we can make the corrections.
And to the question as well, there's got to be a way out. There's got to be a one final place to go. If it's the manager's office, if it, somebody's got to be final one in the room that says, look, it makes no sense for us to lock this project down for a shade of blue. I don't know what shade of blue is. I may look at it differently and see a different shade because I'm colorblind, whatever the case may be. So we start getting into shades. You got to lighten that shade up. You got to darken that shade up. That gets to be opinion at that point. So I think, and I'm assuming there's got to be, and I think that's what we're looking for, is somebody that can look at this objectively and say, this makes no sense. It doesn't pass the smell test, and we need to move forward with this. So Mr. Roth, you have the floor.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree. And it's not only colors, I think it's the amount of paint that you can put on the wall percentage-wise and stuff like that as well. So it's not just the color. And yeah, I agree. I mean, we have to at least, I think a little bit of flexibility. If we would have taken this through the way that it's written today, they would still be waiting for an answer from us because they have to come to council. And there's got to be a way to speed up that process with, as the mayor said, with some flexibility, or maybe the manager makes that final decision, or whomever. Not that it has to take up, you know, a 20 or 30-day process to come in front of us, because there again, it gives the opinion that we're not easy to do business with, and that's the whole object of this exercise, is to try to figure out and to find a solution to some of those issues that we have now. So I don't know what the next step would be, Mayor, but I don't know if we, I think you did it. I think Joe did say what he'd come back in a couple months and they'll have something for us.
We will go and research the menu of options that we can take, and then also look at, as you suggested, ways to add flexibility to the current code. I believe we do have an appeal process right now. And I thought that typically we handle these things where they don't escalate to the level that this one has gotten. I apologize for that. But so we'll go back and do that.
Well, and basically, the way the code reads, there is an appeal process. The manager can agree or disagree, but he has no flexibility to, as the mayor said, authorize a specific shade of color. That has to come before us, the way this is written. So that would be the delay in time.
Got it.
And that's what I think we really want to work on, is we want to become more expedient in how we can process some of these challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis. And if I just may add something that's kind of in the same,
you have the floor.
Same category as this, the sign ordinance that we have is a pretty big issue. And I'm going to challenge us to come up with something or an agreement to, or have somebody go out and look at what is in the city now, because if you drive through the city, most of the signage out there is not to code in our city. And then when somebody new comes into the city, we give them a hard time because that sign isn't to code, but if he looks next door, that guy's sign is what exactly he wants to put in place. So, and I know that this has been a challenge for many councils, probably before us as well. And with what's happening in downtown and the new parking garage and the potential new retail spaces that are going to be up, you know, I don't want to get a phone call, which I'm sure we won't on this project, but your sign is not acceptable in our city. And I think that if we can begin to come to an agreement amongst ourselves and with development services, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and figure out a way to not alienate the ones that are already out there, because eventually through attrition, those businesses will come and go, and those signages will come down, and new signages will go up, and we can begin to get some control over what comes in. The whole purpose of the exercise is to not have the applicant run into the problem where, no, you can't do that, and to be flexible with these applicants. And it's pretty similar. It goes back to this paint palette. I think when they went to development services, no, you cannot do this color on your building. And that doesn't show any flexibility. So I'm just hoping that we can come to an arrangement, an agreement that we can work through this. I know it's a dueling task, Joe. I know I've heard you say, oh, it's going to take, you know, the code's 100 years old, and we got all these different things. We got to figure it out. It's a baby step to helping improve the image that we have of the challengings to do business with the city of Homestead. So with that, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Mr. Shelley?
Thank you, Mayor. I think the paint code and the sign code, I think there was like a span there where the city just decided to regulate everything, if I remember right. Because I think it's not very old, right? It's like within the last 10 years or so.
It predates 2011, I know that.
Yeah, so I think I remember seeing it come through the process, both the paint code and then sign code has been revamped. So there was like a time frame there where the city tried to put, cookie cutter rules in place, which are good sometimes, but also you sometimes make decisions based on what a generalized statute looks like from some other city, but it's not been tweaked to apply to the reality of what we have. So, I concur with what Councilman Ross says as regards to the sign code, because I think there's a fairness aspect there, and we've had this discussion before where, you can't hold the line for the new people and then allow everybody else that's kind of grandfathered. Even though they're illegal, they're not properly, following the code, but we all just kind of turned a blind eye and said, well, they've been there for a while, we're not going to say anything. But then the new business comes in and we hold them to the farm standard and said, well, we can't now let you come in and do what they're doing. And so I think there's a real fairness issue there, and that's applicable even with paint and everything else that we do. And so I'm on point with you on those issues. Now, when it comes to the flexibility, I also would like to find some way to streamline the process if at all possible, but I'm a little leery about providing policy decisions to staff. And we have a great staff, we have a great manager, but ultimately that's our call as council people, because granted they should make so discretionary calls, but they could easily approve something that all of us determine or our constituents determine are offensive colors, talking about paint. Even though it looked reasonable at the time the staff member was making the decision. So I still think that most of those types of things do need to come to us, but they need to find a way to get to us in a faster manner, or we need to establish a broader flexibility as far as what we allow, and so that there's less instances where there's going to be a challenge that requires some discretion. So those are the only concerns that I have as we start discussing this going forward, both as it relates to paint and other things, is just not giving up too much of our policy-making ability to staff members, but at the same time trying to find a way to make us more business-friendly or streamline the process of getting some of these applicants in through the system. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. I just know from the experience of looking at that color palette and seeing the minimal choices, like you said, Mr. Cordino, there was 25 shades of white. And there was 25 shades of pink. There was 25 shades of all pastels. And it was really not much for an applicant to choose from. So if it's expanding the color palette, maybe doing a little bit, but right, clearly we've got challenges, small challenges in our sign ordinance, especially along the turnpike. You've got people driving 70 miles an hour. And if the turnpike has put trees in all of the swale areas, so it's very, very difficult to see what's in Homestead. We're going to have, I know I've already been contacted by the new Chevrolet dealership that they're trying to figure out how they can get some sort of an idea what kind of sign they can put in. I'm assuming, and as far as signs are concerned, and we're off of his track a little bit, but variances are still an option when it comes to signs or color palette, but it's a time-consuming process, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, I think the color palette, I think you can, but I think from the aspect of us taking a look at the sign question, unless we just want to continue on the variance process, and that's going to be a case-by-case basis. That works, not to your point, where you as a body play favorites in essence. But I think there's clearly a difference between a sign, downtown as compared to a sign on Campbell and the Turnpike. Because, those are heavily trafficked areas, high-speed traffic. I know when we put in the DDR, the Kohl's, they had all kinds of concerns because they could have a pedestal sign a monument sign that stood up about 4 feet and it was about 10 feet long. Nobody can see that from the Turnpike. So I think there's clearly areas that, maybe we take a look at, not rewriting the whole sign ordinance, but maybe taking a look at just areas where we know we've got problems. Each council person probably has had someone call them or is going to call them about a scenario. So moving forward, I think you're correct. policy is policy. These were put in by elected officials for a reason. Now, whether they are appropriate today, it's our job to clean them up and make them match today's needs. So I totally agree, but I think we need to help as well, feeding them information from comments that we get about problems that are real or perceived from people in the community. Because if we don't have any rules, then it becomes a lawless, ruleless, signs everywhere, which is what we didn't really want a lot of. So we got to find that happy medium based on our situation today. And first and foremost, I think that Councilman is talking about the paint issue, and secondarily, I think we're going to have to deal with the sign issue, because I can tell you right now, the Chevrolet dealership is going to be in your office pretty soon, trying to figure out what we can do, and the process is going to be either we look at that corridor as a special corridor, or we variance issues. And so bring us back something on the paint. I think we're clear on that. And I think if we want to work on the sign, I think we're going to work on that over time. But there will be signs in front of you, in front of us, in a very short period of time. And I know, in fact, number one is going to be the Chevrolet dealership. They're putting an $18 million building down there. It's going to employ a whole bunch of people. And the concern that the trees and the way they're located, nobody's not even going to know they're there. So more to come on that. Mr. Attorney?
Just a little legal background as to why you have this mishmash is that the view of the council has changed over time. At one point, there was an administration that said we want to look like Carl Springs and have those low monument kind of signs. And then a super pro-business administration came in and said, all our business is in trouble, anything is fine. And the problem is legally, the reason you have sort of inconsistent signs is what the courts have said, is that once you put up a sign legally, the government has to give you the opportunity to get the value of that sign before they can take it down. So what we can do is you amortize those non-conforming signs. So you have to give them, James, I don't know, 5 years, 3 years, whatever the number is, in order to let them get the value out of that sign. You just can't ask them just to take it down. So that's why it may help you to explain to the people that I understand are upset as to why he's got it and I can't have it. We can't just ask them to take it down. Every time there's a change, we have to give them the ability to sort of use up the value of that sign, if that helps explain why we have this situation.
Anything else, Mr. Shelley?
No, I'm fine. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Burgess?
Thank you. So through the mayor to the attorney, if I may, you're saying that if a sign is up illegally or built illegally, legally?
Legal signs.
Okay. What about an illegal sign that's been placed in the city within the last 5 to 6 years? What do we do to a gentleman like that or a business like that, I mean?
James, if I'm wrong, tell me, but that's a code enforcement problem, and we should make them take it down.
Okay, and then back to your other point. So if a sign is there and has been up for 10 years, we would still have to give the gentleman at his business or the lady at her business a 3 to 5 year, whatever the grace period is determined to be?
If the sign was put up
No, I'm saying if it
legally,
was put up within code.
Yes.
At the time of its
Right.
Being built.
Right.
And it's been there for, say, just using a number, 10 years. We would still have to give them a 3 to 5 year, whatever the grace period
What
is
would
determined?
be it has to do with the useful life. What's the standard now?
I'd have to, I mean, there's various cases in which this could come into play. If legal non-conforming signs generally have the ability to remain until they are removed or destroyed by a certain percentage, or if you adopt an amortization period of, I think the average is about 5 years, 5 to 7 years, in order for them to recoup whatever investment may have been made into the sign. Depending on the type of sign that we were talking about, would also probably dictate the amortization period. So there's several options or ways you could go, not one size fits all.
James, I think the question he's asking is if the sign has been up for a certain period of time, legally put up, does that sign still, do you know, or if you need to check, I understand, does that sign still is that sign still entitled to an amortization period, or because they've had it up for some period of time, it's assumed that they've gotten their business value out of it? You might need to check, but that's the
I'll
question.
need to
Councilman
check.
Burgess.
Like I said, it depends on the type of sign, depends on how much money we're talking about. So there's some different factors, but I can look at that issue for you and get back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Roth, that was your discussion item. Are you satisfied? Okay. Next, we have public comments. I have two cards. One is Luis Hernandez or Carmen as. Oh, okay. Go. Just give us your name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Carmen Andrade. I'm here to represent Southern Homestead Soccer Academy. Southern Homestead Soccer Academy, just so you have a background, has two main branches. One is like an after-school program where they serve around 70 children every day, including children with special needs. Southern Homestead Soccer Academy also has a soccer program where they serve over 120 children, girls and boys, different age groups. Today, I'm happy to share that our U16 soccer team this past November was able to win the Coca-Cola Cup here in Florida. Then, just last month, we were able to compete in Tampa with teams from all over Florida. Here, this small group of kids who practice hard and work hard, they were able to come out victorious in Tampa, and they brought home to Homestead the 2017 FYSA President's Cup. They've now been asked to represent the state of Florida and the city of Homestead in Oklahoma State. Needless to say, the kids are excited. Many of them had never traveled out of Homestead until the games that we had in Tampa and further north. And now they have the opportunity to travel and get exposure outside of the state of Florida. However, to make this a reality, we need help. They've come to an estimate, and they've realized that maybe taking two vans, renting two vans, as opposed to flying all of the children there or teenagers there, they've decided that it's more affordable to rent two vans, and they found that it would be more affordable that way. They would have to depart because it's about 2-day drive with a couple of breaks, not even including like a hotel stay in between the 2 days, just driving. They would have to leave on June 11th because the games start June 13th and the last game is June 18th. So we're looking at least 2 days in the van there, 2 days in the van back, and about 6 days in a hotel. The total estimate, out of the estimate, they were able to raise $1,500 so far from local businesses. And on behalf of myself, the players, one of which is my son, a lot of which attend the schools where I've worked or participated in as a volunteer, the families, we ask and seek financial support from the city of Homestead. The total amount that they've estimated and only includes transportation and hotel. We're not even talking food.
Quickly, give us the number.
Is $12,000.
12,000.
And of that, we've raised $1,500.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This was exciting.
That's a big number. I'll give each of you council members, make sure you get name and address and telephone number. If we can help at all as individuals, I'll make sure that the clerk can give you that information. I don't know what we can do, but they'll have your information, see what we can do to help you get there, okay? The next one is from Mr. Willie Womble. Is he here? I don't see him. Okay, so that's all that I have in public comment, so we're going to close the public comment section. Business from the city manager. Mr. Manager?
Yes. Two things. One is an announcement. I don't normally make them, but this one I couldn't resist. Yeah, many of you may have seen this. Homestead Public Services Energy has earned a reliable public power provider diamond level designation from the American Public Power Association for providing reliable and safe electric service. And this designation, which lasts for 3 years, recognizes public power utilities that demonstrate proficiency in 4 key disciplines: reliability, safety, workforce development, and system improvement. The criteria include sound business practices and a utility-wide commitment to safe and reliable delivery of electricity. Homestead Energy joins more than 235 public power utilities nationwide that hold the prestigious RP3 designation. Only about 10% of the nation's public power utilities earn the right to the RP3 designation, with only about 5% achieving the diamond level. So that's a very high honor, and we're very grateful, and congratulations to all of you for that.
No clapping, no clapping.
No clapping.
No clapping.
And then the second thing is we have 2 birthdays today. Julio, happy birthday. And Josh, in the back, happy birthday to him as well.
To
And
Josh.
I hope you have a great year.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Anything from the attorney, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, I also don't generally make announcements. However, we need an executive session on the case Homestead versus Newport Limited. This is a parcel as part of the 328th Street eminent domain project.
Thank you, sir. Business from the mayor and council, Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to, I guess, to one of our attorneys, maybe Mr. White, or Development Services, whomever. The TV boxes that Comcast comes and puts in the right-of-way have become very deteriorated in the Keysgate area. Who's responsible? I mean, rusty edges, falling over, tops missing, and stuff like that. What can we do as a city, since it's in a right-of-way? Is that you call on a personal basis? Is it something that the city can enforce upon them? Or what do we do to make them bring the standards of these back to not being eyesores and dangerous to the kids that are playing in the yards and roadways?
I'd have to look at the issue with Public Works. They're the department who issue public permits in the right-of-way for telecom, communications, or utilities. So we would have to look at that and see what would be the best route to have Comcast properly maintain and manage their existing infrastructure.
And I think one of the problems that we run into is that Comcast has lost their contract out there, so they've lost a need to maintain or do anything with them in their eye, which has now become an eyesore and a health hazard to kids that get cut on rusty edges and things like that. So perhaps we can take a look at it, Mr. Brea and Mr. White and yourself can get together and we come up, if there's a solution that the city has the ability to do something, then that. If not, then we'll go back and maybe look at it as individual homeowners or in that area, the people that have talked to me about it.
We'll definitely take a look at it. And one of the first things we're going to have to look into is to make sure that the roadways are public right-of-ways and not private roadways in a gated community or something like that, because that does make a difference as to how we can enforce
go ahead
it.
and stop because it's over. So they're all gated communities in this town, in case you haven't noticed, except for on the northwest.
We'll take a look at it and see exactly what, how much power we have over there.
Okay, thank you. Back to Mr. Brea, if I could, Mayor, I'd like to thank him and Dennis and his crew also for, over there on 152, I believe that they've taken action now where the road will become passable instead of impassable as it had with any rain. They've put in a drain over there, so that should help alleviate the flooding on 152. So thank you to those guys for their actions. To the utility department, congratulations on your award. We had a pole that was taken out on 152 in front of the, on Kingman Road there, in front of Northgate and Eastlake. And that one pretty much was the main light for that intersection right there. And it was taken down in a car wreck not long ago and hadn't been replaced. Do we know, is there any plans to replace that, or what we can do out there as far as who's responsible for doing that? That may even be an FP&L light, I'm not even sure.
I don't know at this time, but
Hang on.
we're going to do an investigation also of that poll. I mean, it belongs to us. We're going to give it back to you, you know, an answer. Or we can remove it or improve that area.
It's been removed, so if we could look, and that, like I said, that one light was pretty much the main light for the intersection there of getting in and out of the neighborhood. So it was taken down approximately 3 months ago in a car wreck and hadn't been replaced. So if we could check on that, so I've had one gentleman that was here, he's not here tonight, was going to talk about it last month and he left also, and I forgot to bring it up, but so he had asked me about it again. So if we could just check on that light there at the, it's on the south side of the intersection.
Okay, I'm going to take care of that. No problem.
And to our PIO, I know that we've got some big, and Mr. Bray has put them out in emails this week, some big road construction projects coming up. And I think it's very important that we get those out on our website and through any media avenues that we have, whether it be Facebook or what. And I mean in red letters, because they're going to create some headaches for all the citizens of Homestead. As people try to go one way, that road's going to be blocked, and as they're trying to go here, this intersection is going to be blocked. And they're both major roadways and intersections for us. So if we could just make sure we start getting some education out and some time frames and I mean in red bold letters so that everybody knows what we're talking about, so they can try to plan on it and it doesn't hit them by a surprise, I would appreciate it. And with that, I'll say thank you.
Thank you. You know, and an idea on the heels of your question is, you know, when we had the Zika concern, Josh did a really informational video that you ran on Facebook, and it was, you know, it was intuitive. It kind of kept your attention. So, if that is doable, you know, that may be a good way to get people engaged, and you can run that over and over and over and over again at Facebook. So it's a good option, and Josh does a really good job for us in that respect. So,
and I would also to the Public Works Department or to Mr. Maytan and his department, whoever's got those billboards, we should get them out there sooner than later, saying road construction going to start, or the police department. I know everybody's has those signs. Get them out there so that people understand what's going to hit them, because it's going to come about, and the frustration is going to be there for our citizens until things get done, unfortunately. So, and I think the education and perception that we're trying to help them will go a long way towards the aggravation level.
well, and I know that, John, you've been asking over and over and over again about the 328th Street project, and I know you sent out a schedule that's getting ready to start, and it's going to be a year or better. It's 400 and some odd day project. So can you just kind of brief a little bit on that?
Correct. The county finally gave us their schedule on this project. They're going to start, well, they're actually starting already. They're out there mobilizing and removing existing utilities, et cetera. But the actual construction will start June 1st, and it's about if I remember correctly, 15-month construction project. So it will end in January of 2019. So it's basically a year and a half.
Right, and we also, Mayor, if I could, 152 and 312, we've also got that major intersection improvement coming where that ramp is going to start, and that is going to begin very, very soon also.
That started already, yes.
Right, I mean, they've started already, but I mean the actual on the ground, boots on the ground going, not just taking surveying and painting lines, the actual work is going to begin. So Dennis, I know they have to come through you. So can we just make sure that they understand the inconvenience, and that's the only way that the majority of our people get in and out to the turnpike in the mornings? Thank you.
And these are so needed in this community, but it's going to be so difficult in the process getting through these, but they're going to be magnificent at the end of the day. But especially on that 328, I know that's just a long time. You know, 400 and some odd days is a long time, and I know it's phased out, but we need to let the community know that it's not going to be done overnight, as you point out. So, anything else, sir? No, sir. Thank you. Mr. Shelley?
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Roth? No. Nothing? Goodness. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Nice and quick. I need some last-minute support from my colleagues here. Well, I'm not asking for any money. I'm just asking for a use of
Support.
facilities. Well, let me just preface it by saying this. In the city of Homestead, of course, we're offering summer jobs to our youth, but we are only one of 2 municipalities in Miami-Dade County that's offering summer jobs. Historically, students or children throughout Miami-Dade County can apply for the jobs, but because this gracious council contributed $2,000 and leveraged that with Career Source South Florida, they put in $120,000 and we're able to offer summer jobs. And what we are trying to do is to make it even more accessible for the children to apply by allowing their mobile bus to come to the POW gym to help those families that may not have access to the computers. We were originally going to use Career Source South Florida's facility, but they're hosting a training with parents, so we needed an alternate location last minute. So I'm asking my colleagues if they would acquiesce to allowing the mobile bus unit to be placed at the POW gym on May 20th and June 3rd from 9 to 2.
I'll make that motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Thank you. That's all for me.
Vice Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
I think you need an appointment to the Education Committee that I thought was going to be on this agenda tonight. No?
No, we'll
Do it later? Okay,
Yes.
just want to make sure because I
Yes.
didn't want to make you wait if we didn't have to.
Okay.
Thank you. I just have one thing. Mr. Manager, I asked for some information at a committee of the whole on traffic calming. What we can do, what are we legally allowed to do on some of the neighborhood streets to slow some of the traffic down? And we need something back in the in a committee so we can look at our options because the communities, I know I've been reached out to a couple times. I know others have probably had the same. So if we can, give us options. I know I asked Julio and I haven't seen anything. So let's put it back on the radar screen because I don't want the communities to think that we're not being responsive to their requests. So I'm gonna ask again, and I know you'll get it. I know you'll get it for us. I know everybody's busy, but this is as much for the community to know as well. We're still asking the question. We still need that because there's some legal problems, there's some legal issues, and not everybody's going to like it, but I'd like to be able to go to the communities that are asking for it, at least a handful of people that are asking for it, and then take it out a step or two and see if we're causing a bigger problem than we are a solution. So, but as soon as we get that list of options that are acceptable, then we can start debating that up here, and then we can reach out to the different communities. Did you have something, Mr. Burgess?
I was just going to state that my commute has changed, and I'm commuting up north now a little bit towards the Pinecrest area and that way. And I know that, and I use an app that takes me a different way every day, and I go the back roads. And I know that they've added not a roundabout, but a little where you have to slow down and go through a little zigzag in some of the neighborhoods. And they've also got speed bumps in a majority of neighborhoods up that way that slow people down. And so those are two things that I wanted to throw out there that seem to be working up that way as everybody slows down. And then the third thing that they use every morning is somebody in a car with some lights on top, hiding in people's driveways and all different kinds of things. But those are what I've seen lately, and they seem to be working up in that general area.
Well, I know when it was brought up, there's some legal questions about what we can and cannot do. Let us have all of that so we can discuss it, take it back to the different communities, because they may find out that the solution is not acceptable. That type of, I don't know if you have to take into people's yards to do a roundabout in some of these neighborhoods. These are questions we just all need to know so that when we go back, we're intelligent in our conversation. So. But please, for the sake of the community, get that back to us. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn? Move and second, all in favor? Motion carries. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.